What's up, everybody? I am back. I was intending to do this on like TikTok, but there's so much crap going on. I had to make a full blown YouTube video about it. At least three different things that I need to cover today, and it's just like wild. It's like seriously, what's wrong with people? It is like, oh god, it's so much. We'll be covering the Akash Singh, a guy that I know from watching like the Andrew Schultz podcast, Flagrant, and which I love. Andrew Schultz is like really funny, and I really dig a lot of stuff he's in. Matter of fact, he's gonna be in the new Street Fighter movie coming out next year, and he's playing Dan Hibiki, which I'm looking forward to checking that out. But and I got so much respect for him, because this dude is like a legit, like a nuanced person. I like the people who understand, like the nuances of everything. The guy who sit down like with Bill Maher, like willing to sit down with Trump and just talk it out, because it isn't like, oh, you gotta hate him because like that's the go-to. Everybody. Just like, no, because like Bill Maher, like Piers Morgan, he like because that's how I view things. Because I grew up Democrat, and like, but it's just like reasonable Democrat stuff. It's okay with progressive things, but like them, I understand. Like, okay, you taking things way too far, and that's why like I really mess with him. But his podcast associate has been getting a lot of flack from I want to say he getting a lot of flack. His wife, for I'm pretty sure a decade now, it's just been on, like, she's been on the news a lot, just being utterly disrespectful, taking like Aisha Curry and Jada Pinkett Smith to a whole nother degree. But we'll get into it. But like the video, leave a comment below. Let me get this prepped up for you guys, because it is.
I was on X.
I'm trying to find like the shortest clip, so I'm going to be reacting to somebody else's reaction, Ace and Nate. So I don't want to take up too much of the video. Let's get to the meat and potatoes.
Try to get the video taken down and abuse YouTube's system, like many other people have tried and failed to do to me. So I'm going to follow very strict fair use rules in this one, so that we can make sure that doesn't happen.
What I find corny is my preference is
like pretty much like a decade ago, when there was like a whole big thing where the Fresh and Fit podcast was coming on fire years ago, because they pointed out that they don't mess with black women for their own personal reasons. And I don't necessarily agree, but like I understand their point of view, and they have every right to it. But because it was around the time when like that woke era is really hitting its stride, so anything that sounds even like a one iota distasteful, that might look bad on the black woman as a whole, the whole world got to grind to a screeching halt for it. So they went on the Flagrant podcast to talk with Andrew and his people, and they really gave them crap about it. But the back and forth was like, I remember watching it. There was around that time when I was starting to watch the Flagrant podcast, and it was like a good back and forth. But they was trying to explain to Andrew, who at that time I don't think was married yet, but Akash was, and they was giving the Fresh and Fit crew a lot of crap for trying to. You don't have to agree with everything. I don't agree with everything they said, but it was trying to give young guys tools necessary so they don't come out looking like suckers towards most women, not all, but most women who are already hip to the game in terms of the dating market and have and only gotten worse over the years, with like a sense of entitlement, and they have a propensity to try to finesse dudes that they don't see any potential in dating seriously, but they have no problem extracting resources. So these guys, like it or lump it, are trying to get guys to understand, okay, make sure you work hard on yourself. Don't waste your time trying to chase women, because any rational dude worth his salt will tell any young dude, do not waste your time chasing women, because you're only going to drain your own resources in the process, while just focusing on yourself and your grind and your purpose. The women will come because they will naturally be drawn to you in terms of how you move in life the right way. I ain't talking about drug deals or anything like that. I'm talking about if you're trying to be an entrepreneur and you're working 2-3 jobs to try to get your business off the ground, and you're focused on that, and you working on your fitness, and you're reading a lot, trying to work on your mind, all that other stuff. Women naturally see that and get naturally attracted. So that way, by the time you reach a certain point, you can have your pick of the litter, rather than you wasting unnecessary resources and falling for certain pitfalls that most women will take advantage of, because there are women out there will take advantage of a guy's, especially a young guy's, naivete, who hasn't been in the dating market all that much. So now here they sitting there clowning them back in the day for it, and how the tables have turned, or the turn.
Not my
tables.
women. Now I thought it was I'm not dating my women, period, which is the corniest human being outside of a criminal to me, period. Those are your roots. Those women are reflected in your roots.
So Akash is here expressing his outrage that Fresh and Fit have stated their preference is to not date black women, something they've been very vocal about. Clearly, this upsets him. Let's see why he's so upset about this.
If you're saying, hey, I don't generally date them, but I have more space for it, even though I still think it's a little corny.
Akash only dates brown. Akash has been with one girl in his life who is his wife.
That's my wife. That's an Indian woman.
So this is loyal through and through. Okay.
So apparently Akash only dates brown women, and only one woman for that matter, his now wife, who talks about other men she's been with on her podcast. So she was his first, apparently. Yikes.
And I understand it's not as important for y'all, but as
And in general, on paper, yes, it's ideal that you should abstain from sex until you via religion come together, man and woman, who haven't partaken in any kind of sexual activity, and save it for the right after the wedding and stuff like that. That is beneficial and sustainable in terms of a marriage. But realistically, in a secular world, that's it's slightly unlikely nowadays, because there will be people who have done something. But Akash, you're willing to believe that, yeah, he was a virgin until he got officially married. Now, the way his wife was carrying on, I'm pretty sure we will get into that. People are having their doubts, given the fact that, because women like to tell themselves, you got to watch what they do, not what they say, because what they say is always going to sound very PC, because they always want to look good in public. They never want to sit there and tell you the real, because that will shine a negative light onto them or women as a whole. So they tell you, the PC version, but their actions will say the opposite. You gotta, be mindful of that stuff.
In India, and there's not a lot of us who are famous. So whether you like it or not, people are looking at you as a role model.
So he brings himself into it. He says, I'm an Indian. Not a lot of us are famous. Therefore, people see me and you guys as role models. Or was he saying the Indians look at Fresh and Fit as role models? I would say the first one makes more sense.
You guys have established yourselves as role models. From simps to pimps, which is another motto I find kind of corny, but I looked into what you guys are about. And a lot of the shit is just childish, which is fine if you want to be funny. We just talk about how doctors ain't shit for 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. We are not in any way life coaching. We are not in any way trying to help men outside of, hey, come have a laugh for a couple hours. Mm-hmm.
So Akash just got done saying he's a role model because so few Indians are famous. And it now seems he's walking that back and said, actually, we're just clowns who make people laugh. But where's the joke here, right? He seems to be very serious right now.
If you're going to paint yourself as life coaches and then say shit like, my preference is, which is honestly bullshit. It is, I don't want to date black girls. That's the way every black dude that white girls says it. I've dated black girls in my life. All right, bro. Who the fuck hasn't except me?
So he's mad that their preference is to not date black girls, and then somehow ties that back to him also not having dated black girls. Perhaps his preference is to also not date black girls and only Indians.
You know what I mean? Everybody gonna dabble in everything. It is the mentality that I have an issue with, and Alex is upset with the specific words, true, but underneath it, he's upset with the mentality. And a lot of stuff you guys say in general, I think is stuff that's kind of childish.
Wait till Akash watches his wife's podcast. I wonder how he would describe that. I have a feeling he condones his wife talking about other men and the size of their penises on her show.
I saw a clip where you were like, oh, the nuclear family's falling apart. What do? I don't get married. Just don't get married. You actually trying to help men, or you talking to incels who are 18 years old? That's some shit you say to college. I'm going to turn you from a simp to a pimp. All right, bro. Can we grow up? You guys are self-help. Hey, we're trying to help men. So either we're funny, or help men and be real and be honest with yourselves and don't have an ego like, no, I have a preference. Be honest. Let's just be mature about what we feel. And part of that maturity is, yeah, it was a bad joke. I don't actually feel exactly that way.
So Akash gets triggered by Fresh and Fit's motto, their preference to not date black women, and by the fact that they present themselves as helping men, while also stating their own preferences. He sees that as a contradiction. He says, you can't claim to be life coaches and then say what he considers to be corny. So it seems like he's trying to make a distinction here. You can either be funny or you can be serious. But I don't really see what Akash is doing that's funny here, right? Where's the joke? Why are you claiming to be, I guess, a childish podcast and then trying to give an adult lesson, right? Pick one, right? According to his logic. He seems very serious. He seems triggered. Like, why are you taking yourself so seriously, bro? Why are you virtue signaling? Why are you morally posturing? I thought you were a clown here to make people laugh. I didn't think Flagrant was a serious podcast. Why are you being all serious? So you can see, like, it's just a weird thing he said. There's a contradiction there. But the bottom line is he's triggered. And I think deep down he knows his wife has a bit of a past. So in his mind, he's probably thinking, hey, everybody experiments. Everybody's been with a black woman, probably even my wife. So stop being corny. Stop appealing to incels, right? That's what he says. And keep in mind, people like Akash are quick to throw around labels that are meant to belittle and shame others. Terms like incel and so on. So perhaps we should feel just as free to describe his wife in whatever way best fits what we're seeing.
And, that term incel, I think that's one of those words that's been ran into the freaking ground. Are there people you could deem as incels? Sure. But what I find just disingenuous is the fact that any guy who raises an issue about the opposite sex or states a boundary that he draws a hard line on or points out a negative side of female activities or just personalities, people are quick to, like, some people are quick to just throw around, oh, he's an incel, these buzzwords, just to shut them down, like, oh, he does not deserve to be listened to at all just by that one little word. And that just, like, you're taking away his reason of what he's feeling that way. He's raising this issue, or these guys raise an issue that's going on with the opposite sex because they are dropping the ball. And when we pointed that out, you calling them incels is not helping the issue. You could probably just take the time and actually listen thoroughly to their ire. It's only fair. There are people. There's like, the movies and like the government are spouting out, oh, how can we reach the young male demographic? The Gen Z male is not having sex. They're not out there dating. Well, it doesn't help if you keep calling them incels like they're just degenerates or all of them just full-blown hate women. No, you can criticize women. It doesn't mean you hate them. Just like you can criticize males, but you don't need to hate them. There are negatives. Me as a straight, black man, there is a negative side to black men or men in general that I am not gonna sit there and clutch my pearls when you point that out. Yes, I can acknowledge that. So can you, at the same degree, acknowledge that, there are some women out there that are just lying, greedy, entitled little brats that guys out there don't want to put up with no more, or they gotten sick of it? Without them calling them names?
Anyway, let's play some of his wife's podcast. So his wife is this one on the right in the blue sweater who's going to be saying the crazy stuff.
I mean, she is cute, and I ain't going to front.
It's about 3 minutes, but listen to some of the clips. And keep in mind, this is only from about 2 to 3 of their podcasts. I'm sure there's much, much more. But thanks to AI, this really didn't take long to find and put together. So I didn't have to expose myself to too much of this brain rot.
Would y'all ever have an orgy together with your husbands?
Rhea, I'm actively trying to have an orgy because this couple is so good looking, and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you see him. His body goes crazy. His face card always slays, never declines. And it's kind of weird because I'm talking about your husband.
No, I kind of love it, but I'm like, us four? Okay, maybe.
I just know that Nav's dick is like at least 10 inches.
You would only be down for an orgy if we did it?
It's thick.
I'd only been down for an orgy if we do it above my in-laws, or we're not doing it at all.
So there, Akasha's wife is talking about the size of her friend's husband's.
What the hell? I mean, okay, first off, there's no woman that I know that'll be okay with another woman talking about her man's private area so gleefully without there being some type of issue. There will be an argument, if not somebody getting dragged. That is completely disrespectful. And another thing, what is it? This is a crazy epidemic, and like there's only mostly guys are, and like some group of women are looking at this, and it's like, what is it with these celebrity wives out getting in front of like a camera and a mic and just speaking just bile about their men? First, it was Jada with that entanglement with her son's friend, and then having her daughter, which we'll get into in a second with her, having her daughter write notes to a rapper long dead who, from my understanding from other, people who knew him, didn't really think that much about her like that back in the day. Then you got Issa Curry, who wants male attention, and then didn't think her male was gonna be this successful, and she thought she was gonna be like the boss babe, taking care of everything. It's just like, and now her, Akasa's wife. It's like, what is it like? What is it about a microphone and a camera that makes these ladies just bug out? Women's mouths are like one of their greatest superpowers. But with great power must come great responsibility. And you can easily bring a man up or tear him down. And far too often we're seeing too many women, especially in like the celebrity world, bringing men down, trying to crumble his empire with a sentence or a paragraph, just to, without even acknowledging or stepping outside themselves and thinking like, does this make my man look good? They don't think about that. They're thinking about themselves. And look, it's okay. Everybody acknowledges no relationship is perfect. Everybody acknowledges everybody goes through issues and arguments. It's life. But to the wider world, outside of your relationship, we don't need to know your weaknesses or chinks in your armor. When you step outside of your household, your little sanctum, to the better part of the world, for all intents and purposes, your man is Superman. We don't need to know his kryptonite. We don't need to know he's weak against the red sun. We don't need to know he's weak against magic. We don't even know that. Why do we want to know his weaknesses? The disillusionment of his heroism. Aisha Curry, Jada, I can't even remember Akasha's wife's name. It doesn't even freaking matter. When you out there in the world, you should like speak nothing but positives about your man. Because the wider world looks at these men who accomplish so much in positive ways that garner respect and admiration among the populace, both men and women. So you, in the, guise of being relatable or speaking your truth, you throwing your men under the bus in the process. And this is where the disrespect, and one of the reasons why guys, so hesitant on entering marriage, because A, the divorce rate, and B, we don't know what kind of woman. We can try to vet all we want, and they can always, be this and that and the third at first. But when she gets comfortable and you get that ring on, who knows? I mean, and this is no disrespect to the guys, But they should have set the, at least this is, this is like a teachable moment for both men and women. Guys, if you enter a relationship or about to tie that knot, or you thinking about tying that knot with your significant other, or if you enter in a relationship in general, you should set the tone straight up immediately. Like, hey, this is what I am not going to tolerate. I am on my mission. I'm on my purpose. I'm trying to build a kingdom for both you and me to benefit from. So I need you to behave in this manner, and you ladies should like respect that and acknowledge that, because you will win in the long run just by his success. Because when he wins, you win automatically. Off rip. Ladies, when you look at these girls, you should see that as a warning sign. Okay, I am not going to be Aisha. I am not going to be Jada. I am not going to be Akash's wife. If I'm ever out in public and somebody asks me about my man or whatever, I'm going to say all the glory, the golden glowy, picturesque version of him all day long. I don't care what I'm going through with him personally. I don't care if I just had a big blowout argument over the direction where the toilet paper rolls direction it should be, on the spool. When I step outside the house, my man is like freaking Batman, baby. My man, he looks good. He always dresses snazzy. My man, he is like always on his grind. My man always did this. My man's like this. My man. That is what you should be doing whenever somebody asks you about your guys. Do not try to be relatable. Stop it. You're not being relatable. We don't need the chinks in your armor in your relationship so somebody can worm their way in and completely uproot it. Golly.
Penis and suggesting that it's at least 10 inches and it's thick.
And ladies, if you have friends like this, I highly recommend, and it's in your best interest, especially in the best interest of your relationship with your man, to get rid of women like that immediately. As soon as you hear that kind of nonsense, especially if she's talking about like your husband's or your boyfriend's private area and all this stuff and try to kiki with it, like, no, don't try to be no girl's girl, blah blah blah. No, she's gonna tear down. She's like a virus, a computer virus that's gonna corrupt your relationship. Get rid of her. Get rid of her immediately. Highly recommend you do that. It's for the best interest of your relationship.
Very strange. Like, can you imagine your wife talking to her friend saying this? It's actually also weird for her friend, but she kind of plays it off like it isn't weird. But again, can you imagine, your wife talking to her friend and saying, yeah, I would like to do an orgy with you guys, especially since your husband, he's probably, really big and thick down there.
And she talking about she was a virgin before she got married to Akash. And like I said before about pay attention how they act and not what they say, because the way she's carrying on like this, virgin women or even virgins in general don't talk this explicitly like this, like talking about orgies and all this other stuff. And it's like that's not something that virgins will be. I mean, they might know the definition of the word, but the way she's carrying on, she's got some. She's at the very least been in rooms with this going on. I can't. No one can say it's true or not. That she actually lost her virginity long before she met Akash. But the way she's carrying on is suspect. And from what I'm understanding, Andrew Schultz introduced her, or at least knew her through one of his comedy specials, saw her or something like that. He introduced them, And I kind of wish, I'm not sure the ins and outs of it all, so I can't really speak on that part. But for all intents and purposes, somebody should have vetted the chick on behalf of their friend Akash, so you can avoid a massive headache from this woman, because she is.
And she's saying this publicly
She's gross.
too. I actually can't believe this is real.
Wait, okay, I have two butthole stories. So one time I met this guy on Tinder. This was before Bumble or Hinge. Like, this was like in the OG days of the app. And this guy, he was like some, how do you say, half Asian, like baddie. Wasian. That's the word.
Wasian.
Yeah, Wasian. Actually, in the Bay. That's when I was living in the Bay Area. And I made the dumb mistake of letting him sleep over, like not really wanting to hook up. And I like woke up in the morning and like my asshole was a little sore.
Oh my god!
And I remembered that I would like try to finger me in my asshole. I'm like, first of all, we were not on those like terms. But anyways, so that was non-consensual actually.
Yeah, so we can kind of make the assumption from what she said here that, you know, before this Asian baddie or whatever, there were previous men that she likely had encountered.
This is why guys are so hesitant on getting married nowadays, because we don't know what kind of women we're walking into as soon as the moment she gets comfortable and gets that ring. Because ultimately, that's what, you know, women want in the long run: the ring and the wedding. Once you accomplish that, for all intents and purposes, seeing things she's gonna have to like really put in the real effort after the fact. That she can just kind of coast. But it's just the fact that, look, we want. Men want trusted confidants in our women. We want to be able to know that you have our back and not going to try to rip us asunder for your own, 15 minutes of fame. You kind of, don't you think it's kind of like curious that LeBron James' wife's not out here on that little whatever podcast and trying to speak her truth or whatever? She doesn't need to. She's good. It's kind of like Aisha Curry and Steph Curry situation. They met when they was young and they kind of built together. Or even better yet, LL Cool J's wife. She made a point a while back about how, like standing by her man. She speaks nothing but glorious things about LL Cool J. Some of these women nowadays, not all, but some of these women nowadays do not like understand that simple fact. Because if protection and provision are the two biggest things that women hold in high regard above all else, respect and appreciation are the two biggest things men look to above all else. And we're not getting satisfied for the most part, because we're not seen as somebody to be respected. We're looked at either incompetent or like monsters. So, women on average are just being completely just disrespectful off rip. So that's why guys like Fresh and Fit, instruct the younger dudes that, okay, you're gonna have to get on your purpose, build yourself up, financially and physically and spiritually and mentally, so that way women just naturally gravitate to you and you can just pick one that you find suitable out of the bunch. Because you cannot, oh my god, it's just like you cannot just trust, the goodwill of just, like, hey, like I meet you at a coffee shop. Sure, I'm not like super fly right now, but I have a, dream. But it's not immediate. She ain't trying to hear it, and she might get abrasive, and she might blow you off. But as soon as you hit the jackpot of the lotto, and all of a sudden her tune starts changing, it's like, oh hey, it's like not even just with gold digger, kind of attitude, but just like all of a sudden that respect just gets little, all of a sudden gets turned on automatically, because now you're somebody. You got a proven look that is like, like you got pre-checked by society that, oh, he's somebody, so I can like hitch my wagon to a guy like this, instead of just trusting that, oh, he's just a good dude off rip, maybe I can give him a chance to see what he's about. If it works out, great. If not, I can just like see you later. Is nice to meet you. Is no hard feelings. Blah blah blah. Oh, it just used to be simple, and you wonder why it's like men don't want to approach women nowadays.
With, but it's like here we have a wife talking about a strange man who touched her butthole. It's unbelievable. And now we also know that this woman here was Akash's first.
Hey everyone, this is me, Ness, and my wife, Crystal. We've had such an amazing ride together.
Can I also ask, what kind of porn do you watch when you use a vibrator?
Okay, not gonna lie, I don't watch porn while using a vibrator. What? I just think my imagination is vibration enough.
Wow. I actually have a lot of respect because I don't think I would be able to do that, number one. And number two, my OCD would never, in my intrusive thoughts, like it would keep getting
No, I sometimes think of like my own husband while I'm like doing it.
Wait, that's kind of baller, but I could never do that.
Yeah.
So there's like a trend of these women creating these podcasts and then just talking like this. It's just like it's disgusting. And so a lot of times men will get critiques for being the degens, being the ones who are like, sex obsessed or whatnot. But there is plenty of this out there. It seems like these women are trying to mimic the Call Her Daddy podcast. But the only difference here is both the women are already married, which is... So it's like here, Akasha's wife mentions that she could never do what her friend does, right? Which is to get off to the thought of her husband. And apparently, she needs to actually watch people, and could never even possibly imagine using her imagination, let alone bringing in her husband into her imagination.
I will say it again because I know there's going to be already like incel troll mother. This is not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money, and my money is my money. And look, have I only made $600 from content creating?
Wow, I went up $100 from last week.
But that's my money.
Wow, quite the childish podcast they've got here. And one thing Akash and his wife...
Yeah, I gotta say, man, that full disclosure, I had that kind of mindset, way back when I was entering college, when I first met my first girlfriend at the time. And I've been to that, feminist apple a little bit because, hey, because, it was a whole different realm back then, early 2000s. And, of course, I, didn't have much luck with women. I lucked out of meeting this girl via a friend of mine that I met in college. And she, in general, was a cool woman. Of course, it didn't work out because she, ended up cheating on me. And it's like, oh, who hurt you kind of crap. None of that stuff. It's one of those tough life lessons that helped me in the long run. Sometimes guys got to go through that kind of crap. But I'm making a point to say this, that you cannot, because I pedestalized this girl. And I, because I was not on any kind of purpose. I was just still in college. I didn't know what I wanted to do fully yet, compared to what I'm doing right now in terms of like acting and all this other stuff that I'm really doing some moving and shaking now. But back then, I didn't really have like a real focus. At that time, it was just okay, I'm just in college right now. But it's just like, that it was a waste, but that's a whole different story. But I was just, in my mind at that time, I was just like so grateful just having like a girl, because like all through like high school, no girl was like checking me like that. Of course, I had my crushes and flirtatious stuff. It was more so jokes and stuff like that. But it was really like checking me like that. And of course, I didn't really have much game. And of course, some guys will try to give me pointers, but it's kind of things that kind of work for them. It's kind of like trying to tell Chris Rock jokes, but it's not funny coming out your mouth compared to how it does coming out of his mouth. It's kind of like that. Some things that only works for some guys, and you try to replicate it seems inorganic. And it's just, where I know now, I could have applied it back then, where it's just be yourself, get on your purpose, and just like set boundaries. I did not set clear boundaries and allow this girl to kind of run the kind of relationship, and which is not a good idea to let your girl run the relationship. I said, guys need to be the leaders, just off rep. So some like background, some standards, and don't fall for the whole the shit testing that most women tend to do. I fell for it almost every doggone time, and it didn't work out well for me in the long run. And it's like, because I was lacking, because if a guy has options, it's kind of weird, it's kind of messed up, but girls tend to act in a particular well-mannered way when they know, like, if they got somebody good on their hands, he's a hot commodity for most women. Because, matter of fact, it was like a thing where some girl was, checking me at one point at an old job that I was working at, and my girl got super, like, insecure and jealous, which is kind of weird because I've never been on that end of things before, and it's kind of like, I was like, oh, I didn't realize what I had on my hands at the time. I could have capitalized off of that, but it's just thing, like, if you think guys can be territorial, women are definitely territorial, especially if they got something good on their hands. But Akash's wife, the whole, like, his money is our money, and it's like, this girl barely makes money like that compared to a very famous comedian who's pretty much funding her freaking life. And that is another thing, the lack of respect and appreciation. The two biggest things that men want above all else: respect and appreciation. You got the golden ticket of life. Isaac Curry, Jada Pinkett Smith, you got the golden ticket of life. The very least you can do is show some freaking appreciation, because any other woman will slit your throat to be in your position. They will not hesitate. Some girls don't even like hanging out with girls already. You don't think they would not, bump off a chick just to be with their, glorious guy? They will not hesitate. Most of them will not hesitate. So how about you take some self-assessment, some acknowledgement? Dang, I got a good man. He's taking care of me for the bulk of my life. Our children's children will want for naught if he plays his cards right when it's finances and everything like that. So how about I make sure that his belly is full, his balls are drained, and I don't talk so much. At the very least, I want to make sure I do for my man, because he is pretty much I'm under his protection, and I don't have to worry about struggling. But no, they want to tell their truths.
Have in common is accusing people of being incels. And in this case, Akash's wife says, for the incels out there who have it backwards, the trolls and whatnot, just so you know, his money is our money, and my money is my money. So right there, Akash is a stone cold beta bucks.
I never watched that show, but he's on my hall pass list.
Oh yeah.
Chase Crawford, Jacob Elordi, Austin Butler, And who else?
Michael B. Jordan. I love a pretty boy, which is why I like Chase Crawford, Michael B. Jordan. They're all so pretty to
Okay,
look at.
Dean Thomas from the Harry Potter movies, which you haven't seen. We have to. Okay, for fall, Neha hasn't watched Harry Potter, so we have to go.
I'll come over. We could do a sleepover in Harry Potter.
And here, his wife, again, talking about all the famous, handsome men that she would sleep with if she were given a hall pass, meaning if her husband, Akash, gave her the go-ahead. These are all the men that she would happily jump in bed with. She's got a list. I mean, how many guys did she just name off? Just very disrespectful. But hey, I'm sure Akash would gleefully defend his wife's right to talk about all the other men she would rather sleep with than him. This is a very classy woman here. If people who disagree with these two are incels, what does that make Akash?
I love that. Good on you,
Love
Olivia
that.
Jade. Like, yeah, get him fucking.
Oh, God.
But he's so tall. Like, it's just like, can you imagine like how big his dick must be?
Dude, no, but that's why she keeps going back.
That's why she keeps going back.
for seconds and thirds.
What do you think about Austin Butler though?
Okay, I have always loved him because I loved him when he was with Vanessa.
iCarly.
No, yeah, iCarly, Vanessa Ann Hudgens. Like, I loved him.
And yet again, his wife is fantasizing about other men who are not her husband and the size of their package downstairs. So that's really bad. That's really bad. When I first saw one clip on X, I thought, oh, wow, that's pretty off. And then I actually looked at the podcast, and I couldn't believe the things this woman was saying. I couldn't believe someone made her a wife. And then, we find out Akash never had a girlfriend before her. She was his first, and then it all made sense. She also made a TikTok during the election publicly belittling her husband for having Donald Trump on their podcast, which is weird because I thought their podcast was just about laughs. And having Trump on, that's a pretty serious thing to do. So someone tell all the podcasters out there that Akash thinks you can't be both serious and goofy on the same show. It's not allowed. But anyways, on TikTok, his wife was recording him and saying, wow, good job, blaming him for promoting Trump. And then because of Trump, the stocks were going down. And that's what it was all about. And he's on there defending himself, saying, no, I didn't vote for him. And he's probably telling the truth, right? But here's the thing. Knowing this is the woman that he has at home, it makes a lot of sense why he was so triggered and reacted the way he did to Fresh and Fit. And it was likely his wife telling him to go in there and behave a certain way. And that was probably him posturing, for her, trying to be a social justice warrior for his feminist, degenerate wife. And honestly, those probably are his beliefs as well, not just hers. But it seems to me she's got this guy, by the you-know-what, and he's letting her get away with anything and everything. It's quite sad. And
yeah, that's pretty much right here. Yeah, man, I'm not, and I don't advocate for divorce. I really don't. It's not something I. That's not something I do. I don't advocate for divorce. It's not something that I believe in personally. Whenever I get married, sticking to it. I'm not getting married by the state, tell you that much. But if we're just straight up religion in front of a pastor, and that'll be that. But Akash, well, he's been together with her for like 10 years, so she's gonna take her to the clears more than likely. So in lieu of that, Akash is gonna have to lay down the freaking law in his house. That's the only other outlet. I'm not sure what kind of private conversations they're having with each other right now behind closed doors. But given the fact that she kind of been running amok for probably the good part of their relationship, and he's letting that ride. Because if you don't, it's one of those lessons the guys that know how to learn. And if you don't set the tone in your relationship early on and check, hey, for lack of a better word, you're going to check girl. And as messed up as it sounds, they kind of like it. You're going to have to, at least some of them, not every girl, obviously. But your best, good odds are she going to, respond favorably to it. She might pout at first, and it's like, in cat and attitude. But deep inside, within her loins, she is like enjoying that. To tell the girl to, sometimes you want to tell a girl to shut the hell up sometimes. And this is how we're going to move. This is how it's going to be. He's going to have to lay down the law. As off rip, guys are the ones who have to, run the ship of the relationship. They have to. Because they have to be the final decision makers. We're the logical ones more often than not. And I'm trying to hear about those exceptions to the rule. More often than not, the guys are the more rational ones compared to the chaotic nature of women. That very few are logical. I mean, I won't say very few are logical. I mean, they all generally got logic. But they don't, very few don't just go off their feelings or run with it to the nth degree. Akash had to he had to set the tone from jump. He should have. Now he's stuck in this. And it'll be a tough hill to climb if he's trying to set the tone now, where she's gotten used to, doing whatever. I feel bad for the guy, for the most part. But we got another video I want to look into. It's like a Willow Smith. Making sure everything is okay. Everything looks okay.
Thank you for saying hi, though.
I appreciate you. Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure everything's copacetic. You never know with Streamlabs. Okay, what is it? This man tried to shoot a shot at Willow Smith, but failed. A month ago, she spoke about how men don't approach women anymore to ask them on a date. I make sure I share this because I wanted to talk about this.
Thank you for saying hi, though.
I appreciate you. Yeah. You look. How old are you?
35,000 years old. You know what? There's something in the Sumerian text that could tell you. And it got bro. You enjoy yourself, please. We're having a great great night.
It's like, oh god, that family's freaking weird. What's with the dap? It's like, you act like a lady. Just, shake his head a little daintily like that. Don't dap him up like he's like, what's up, fellas? It's like, that's a whole nother thing.
All right, for sure.
We're living it up.
I think she's good.
For sure. All right, bet.
Peace.
All right, yeah.
Am I just delusional, or people asking other people out on dates is kind of like old school? Like, the last time, I don't even remember the last time someone was like, hey, would you want to go on a date with me? Like, I'm gonna start saying it again. Okay, yeah, people still hang out in a romantic way, obviously, but to explicitly ask someone out on a date and and use those specific words, especially someone that you don't really know that well. Like, that's like a different kind of thing. Like, would you want to go out on a date with me? Like, when was the last time someone asked you that?
My God. It's like they can't see beyond 2 feet in front of their freaking faces half the time. Look, we all have our moments of absent-mindedness here and there, but my goodness. She was, like the post said, it was like a month ago, literally a month ago, she was complaining that nobody does like cold approaches, just walk up to talk with nobody anymore. And you curved the guy, and your little friend zone dude who really stepped out of the freaking 70s. It probably came from like a Halloween party or something, maybe, I don't know. Sitting there like, yeah, dude, like I've been waiting to hit that for a while, so back off, man. It's my turn. Wherever that dude was. Because he got that look like, yeah, you best of all, I've been waiting to hit that for a minute, man. You ain't gonna ruin my thing, because I've been, like, waiting in wings. Because if a girl friends on you guys, just cut it off. If you let it be known that you got feelings for her and she ain't, like, reciprocating on any level, okay, cut her off immediately. Don't even need to waste your time. Why bother? If she's not trying to date you seriously or let you hit it in general, why are you there? Nothing gonna change. You're gonna be bitter in the long run, especially if she either tells you about like some dude that she actually into that's cheating on her or whatever the case may be, or she while y'all hanging out, she at like a gathering or a party, and she's making out with some dude the whole entire time, and you're just sitting there like just fuming. It's not gonna bode well. Don't waste your time. And so far as like, this is one of the reasons like guys don't bother cold approaching like that nowadays. It isn't because, I mean, it's some extent because they're scared, but it's more to it than that. Guys know deep down they want to come and talk with a girl, and some girls don't understand the willpower and that hump they got to get over to walk across the way to come talk with you, know what to say without sounding stupid or creepy, and not try to catch a case because you're worried about getting me too'd or getting posted on TikTok looking like, look at this stupid dude, he like thought he was gonna get some. Like, there's 1,000 different things that especially young guys have to worry about nowadays. You can't even comment on the girl's hair without it looking like a federal case. Guys do want to cold approach. Guys do want to see a girl, but most of these women don't make it easy. And when I say make it easy, I mean like, it's kind of like tennis. He serves, you girls just, instead of serving back, you let that ball just pass you by. Does that sound like a fun tennis match? It's just like, it just goes to show that some of these girls do not know what they want. They say one thing and do another. They do one thing and say another. Guys are pretty straightforward. We see a beautiful looking girl, we walk over there, introduce ourselves, try not to sound stupid in the process. But some of these girls don't understand because they always been the ones to, just sit there and let guys just come to them. They never had to be in the shoes of a guy to actually conversate with a woman, try to come up with something witty or charming or funny just to get their attention longer than 2 minutes. Women who tried, because there's guys on certain podcasts who tried, like, you know, put a girl in a guy's shoes and try to holler at a girl, fail miserably. Because they always have to often, because girls can get a girl's attention because it's just, oh, we're girls, we're getting this, like, brush each other's hair, give each other compliments, and just give us like little, you know, things like, oh girl, I love your little outfit. That's not spitting game. That's not really having a conversation. You just like relying on the fact that, oh, you're a girl and she's a girl, there's no danger, so we automatically got our guard down. But more often than not, women's guard is always up when it comes to the guys. And it's up to the guy to try to breach that wall. And it would have make it easier. I'm not saying you gotta allow this with every guy, but you gotta be approachable. That's part of being feminine. You gotta smile. You gotta be genteel. But like a guy sees you in a coffee shop, he walks over to you. Hi, my name is Bruce. I saw you across the way. Hey, what's your name? And what it'll make it easier for Bruce is like, oh hi, I'm Chantel. How you doing? It's wonderful to meet you, Chantel. What are you drinking? Oh, I'm drinking like a pumpkin spice latte. You mind if I buy that for you? Sure. It's just like, you know, back and forth. And the more you give like a good back and forth with the guy, the comfortable he is. And naturally he'll start talking. Because if you give like one word short little responses, that just makes it a lot difficult and he'll just get more on edge. That makes him talking sound more dumb. You gotta make it easy. At least not like terribly easy. I'm just saying, like, stop being abrasive. Give a guy a few minutes of your precious time, and you might be surprised that you might actually like the guy. 3 minutes. There's plenty enough time to, like, you know, see if the conversation will go anywhere. But you gotta, you know, give good faith responses instead of those short little one word responses. Because it just makes the guy just like, okay, I'm not even, if you're not going to engage, I'm just going to walk away, kind of thing. And then you might miss your blessing that way. All because you cannot just take off the armor and sit there and Willow Smith, you know, clearly she, you know, wants to date somebody seriously, but she sitting there dapping a guy and get, you know, behaving, you know, I gotta say, the guy might just dodge the huge bullet anyway. He doesn't want any part of that crazy family. I'm sorry. That entire family is just on another plane of existence. Especially when it comes to the mom. If she's anything like her mom, you don't want to be the next Will in the future. You end up probably slapping somebody else in the future at another award show, repeating the cycle. You don't want that, dude. You dodge a huge bullet. As a matter of fact, any future guys out there who's thinking about talking with Will Smith, and you actually, you know, get in there, it's in your best interest to set the tone with her right from the jump. It's like, hey, I don't care what rapper you used to date or something like that. That all ends today. You ain't gonna have, you know, me looking stupid. Okay? I ain't gonna be on no stupid red table talk. I ain't, you know, you ain't gonna clown me. None of that stuff. Okay? This is, you know, this is my boundary. You gonna respect it or you not? If not, then hey, no hard feelings. Enjoy your life. But if you really want to pursue what I got going on, you know, we'll let's, you know, get to working. But you know, you guys out there gotta stop being like wimps and just set the tone, and don't worry. Don't be so with JJ deprived. There's plenty of them going to be out there. Time is more so on guys' side than it is women. They're the ones that probably have to come to correct early on compared to the guys. As long as you on your grind, working on your career, your fitness, your mental, all that stuff, you'll be a hot commodity. And you can still have a family at some point with a woman who will be on your program. I don't see Will Smith behaving in such a way that is conducive of a long-lasting relationship. I could be wrong. I could be proven wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But it's just, like I said, that gene pool is probably tainted. And you don't want to get caught up in any of that stuff. Alright, I got like one more video. This is about the whole Acolyte situation. Because hopefully this just dies. Okay, get this prepped up. The Star Wars Theory. Really like his channel. Definitely subscribe to his channel, guys, because he is really good. Like a true blue Star Wars fan, and not one of those shills out there in the zeitgeist that Disney sit there bring it on because they just posture and say nothing but good things, and and very rarely criticize. And if there is, it's always the most minute, hand-wavy criticisms of all time. This dude's like a true Star Wars fan who respects George Lucas and his vision. Because I love Star Wars too, and I gotta appreciate the entire lore and like the world that George Lucas built, and what Disney's been doing with it. Very rare, very, very rare gems that we find out of the shit pile they've been shoving in our face.
Show was canceled in new interview. Now I was thinking, how am I going to talk about this? Because she calls out Star Wars YouTubers, not directly, but being a Star Wars YouTuber.
Impressive. Very nice.
Who was pretty vocal about the Acolyte, just like all things Star Wars. She comes up with some pretty ludicrous claims as to how YouTubers were able to push the needle on a $250 million show.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
So we're going to get into it with a lot of facts, a lot of just composure. Let's see what makes the most sense. I'm not going to try and be super funny or anything like that. I'm just going to get to the point because this is kind of ridiculous, I have to say. The inability to take accountability for perhaps just writing a script that really didn't hit, which is the case. She decides to blame extrinsic factors such as YouTubers. So let's just get into it, okay? So this is an interview that came out today with the Wrap, and it is, I guess there's quotations already dug out from it from the Holofiles, so shout out to them. All right, sit back, leave a like, and this is going to get pretty wild. Let's do it. Headland explains that making the Acolyte was always a major risk. She says, it was a new part of the timeline. It was all new characters. It was a part of the lore where you couldn't use a stormtrooper. You didn't have the reference of the politics and war that Tony Gilroy has brilliantly exploited in such a genius way in Andor. But all that iconography and all those visual references are original trilogy references. And our references were the High Republic novels and the publishing initiative, and then the prequels, specifically with the lightsabers.
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words,
I would argue, right off the bat, that there is so much more iconography with the prequel trilogy and the depths of the weeds that you can get into with different Jedi and using the Force and whatnot. And you're now going 200 years before that with Yoda and so many new characters you can bring into the mix. And the first thing she did was to bring a character who wasn't even born yet, Ki-Adi-Mundi.
We must alert the High Council.
Who not only shouldn't have been there, but also saw the death of Jedi, saw that a group of Jedi were hush-hush about it, and then never told Yoda. Oh, I already know this video is going to be rough, man. All right, let's get into it. Let's get to the part where she starts blaming, I don't want to say me, but probably. There were so many people on the internet saying that I was the one who caused the Acolyte to not be renewed. I didn't know I had so much power, man. I didn't know I had that much pull to be able to speak my mind and cancel a $250 million show.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Do I have the same amount of power to get a proper Kenobi season? Do I have the same amount of power to get a Mandalorian season 4, which I saw Jon Favreau actually talked about today, which we'll get into in another video? Do I have enough power to retcon the sequel trilogy and create an entirely new one? I don't think so. I can't even get enough power to get over 10,000 views on lore videos, which back in the day would do 20, 30 times that. I also think that any gripes creatively with the show are completely valid, Hedlund remarked. That's great. That's a great way to look at things.
Perhaps I treated you too harsh.
That's people's reaction. It's usually their reaction to their own reaction. That's really not a great way to look at it. I totally want you to have your own opinion, but just know that your opinion is probably because you're a shitty person. What?
You know, it's a masterpiece written by a genius.
If it's a good opinion, then you're probably a great person. It's a reflection of you at the end of the day. I'm now a psychologist. But like I said, the show was always a risk. Any show is a risk. Any piece of art is a risk. And especially when you have, tons of lore before it, and you throw in a dead character and change up the whole lore when nobody's supposed to have seen a lightsaber in 1,000 years, a Sith in 1,000 years, you're really starting to muck about stuff that shouldn't be touched. It's the old adage of the first one, through the wall is the bloodiest. Hedlund addressed that what her experience was like seeing the show be attacked by people in the media, including those in Star Wars media. I was not online, Hedlund says. However, I am a Star Wars fan, which means I have always been, since the launch of YouTube, part of the Star Wars
And that's a little bull. Oh, I've always been a Star Wars fan. This is the same woman who asked what's her favorite Star Wars movie, and her response is all the Star Wars. All the Star Wars. And it's like, okay, then you're full of crap. You couldn't just went with the easier answer and just say like, oh, it's a New Hope, and left it at that. Even if it isn't true, throw anyone. Revenge of the Sith, doesn't matter. Say one. Even if it was hot garbage in your point of view, it could have saved you a lot of headaches. And then that other actor, the black kid in the show, confusing Anakin Skywalker for Luke Skywalker and blowing up the Death Star is so freaking like. Look, you don't have to be like a deep cut lore type of Star Wars fan, but the very basic stuff, you got to have at least watched the movies, if not the original trilogy, just to have some sense of knowledge. We're not asking you to do what all the different various types of spacecrafts in Star Wars. I love Star Wars too. I only know a third of those. I only know maybe a few things off my top of my dome. I really do not know like that. So someone like Star Wars Theory can probably rattle them off like boom 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 boom. Like, I love Star Wars. I just cannot know that much. I probably could learn easily, but it's just like, don't. But man, she is, God, she's so full of it.
Cap, criticism, ionization, fandom, community. These guys I've known for years and years. So when I got the information from others about what the weather report was, There was this real concern from friends of mine or coworkers of mine that saddened me. The show saddened me too.
I've given up trying to argue with you.
I also was like, I know who these guys are. You don't have to tell me who's talking about it or how bad it is online. I know exactly who they are. I supported them on Patreon. Maybe she supported me at one point because I was doing my own film. There are some of them that I respect, and there are some of them that I think are absolutely snake oil salesmen, just opportunists. Then, of course, there are the fascists and racists. So it runs a gamut. It isn't just one thing or the other. You know, right off the bat, look, let's address what we always address. In every fandom, in every type of world, sect, whatever, there are fascists and racists. There's always going to be extremes on every single side, and I think a extremist of anything is not good. Water is very good for you. You drink too much of it, you can die. All right? Racists, yeah, we don't have any place for that. However, and there's a big however here because it really does matter, the percentage of ists and phobes who call out anything that doesn't have to do with the story or plot or anything like that, but just because they are ists and phobes themselves, is a fraction, 0.1%, if anything.
I was right. Taking over!
And I think it would be really ridiculous to cover 99.9% of people out there who are fans who are coming up with constructive criticism as to why they may not like a piece of art which has a long-standing level of history and lore and guidelines and things that you have to adhere to brush them all with the same of that 0.1% of ists and phobes. That to me just seems really low IQ because you are not addressing the bigger thing, which is that so many people have actual constructive criticism and good points to make.
We must move quickly. They're relentless.
Right? But you just throw them all under the bus because there's a tiny little fraction out there in the corner that's yelling out into the ether. And all of a sudden, the people who dislike the show just like the ists and phobes do, then all of a sudden they're the same. Come on. Now, the idea of her saying that she supports...
And that is dangerous in of itself. That you can't have some self-awareness or nuanced thought. It's like, oh, if they speaking about like, oh, anything misogynist, like, oh, I hate every single woman in Star Wars. You don't have to pay attention to those kind of guys. But when they talk about like I don't like Osha and May, then that's a fair criticism, because just because you criticize Osha and May's characters in this doesn't mean automatically throw out the baby with the bathwater when it comes to Leia, Padme, Asajj Ventress, Ahsoka, Mothma. Whoever was like Obi-Wan Kenobi's like girlfriend before she got killed, or semi-girlfriend, or whatever. Or at least most Mandalorians who are female. It's just like, because of course there's going to be still is and foes out there in the world. They ain't gonna like Princess Leia off rip from the beginning. We ain't talking about them. Any sensible person reveres Princess Leia, reveres Padme, reveres Mon Mothma, because they ain't just there to fulfill some woman quota. They actually got layers, likes and dislikes, goals, things that people glom onto, not because they share the same genitalia, because they had like a purpose and a goal and dreams and fears and things that people can relate to regardless of background. Leslie Hanlon, throughout her so-called knowledge in this industry, gave a poor product. It was garbage. It was just a glorified her own therapy session, pretty much. And you can't just take a time, soak that in, and think about, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the common denominator.
Supported them, perhaps me, I don't know, on Patreon, maybe with an alias. I don't think really has any sort of credibility here because she was given a $250 million budget to make a show to honor George Lucas's legacy and build
Still can't believe they
upon
dragged Daphne
this
Keene into
beautiful
this
story
mess.
that he's created. And namely, probably one of the most important parts of Star Wars, which is the prequel trilogy. And
I can't even believe that any of these people will be remembered in the future to the same degree as anybody from the movies. Hell, not even to the same degree as Din Djarin. You know, I think the Asian guy who played the hooded guy just barely skated by recognizability, because I seen images of fans, you know, approaching him, getting pictures and stuff like that. So he just probably skated by the skin of his teeth in popularity with his character. Just a small margin. But everybody else, I don't think anyone will be remembered 5-10 years from now. Nobody's thinking about Acolyte. It'll probably be tossed away, forgot about, like written off as an Elseworld story or something like that. Ain't gonna be considered canon at all in any kind of way, because it wasn't just a garbage Star Wars show. It was a garbage show in general. It was terrible. I could not make it. I mentioned it before. I could not make it past a third episode because it was that bad. I could not get through it. My brain just would not allow, because everything about the writing and the cinematography and the performances from the actors, all of it, except for the guy from Squid Games, all of them, and Carrie Ann Moss, besides those two, all of them was garbage. It was so terrible. But no, instead of just taking some self-assessment and trying to do better and admitting to your fault, you thought it'd just be easier and use it as a protective shield for any kind of criticism by saying, like, oh, people hate it because it's a ist or a foe. You have lost the plot.
her whole idea was to create Osha and May as the first Force being that was created from the Force, that the Temple would then have second thoughts about once Anakin stepped in, because they would be like, wait, 200 years ago we had Osha and May, and now we got to think about this. Even though this is also known as the Chosen One, as Osha and May were, that didn't go well, so we now have to double think this. She wanted to superimpose her own new story, her own characters, in front of Anakin, in front of what George created, which was supposed to be the Chosen One, the first time that this happened. So the idea of supporting on Patreon, I don't see the relevance here. If someone was making a project or you supported someone's content, then that's great. But just because you donate to someone or you send them money, that doesn't mean that they have to shut their mouth then or can't say anything when it comes to something that is so unbelievably important to so many of us. And you calling yourself a Star Wars fan, Leslie, I believe you would understand that no money in the world can buy you, unless it's $250 million.
I'm absolutely terrified. I've worked on this for 4 years. It's my baby. I have combed every moment, every performance, every stunt.
Hedlund continued, says the article, so in some ways I wasn't surprised, and in other ways I was disappointed. I think you always do that when you create something. It's just that Star Wars is on a massive level of visibility. So is every sort of piece of art. Anything that you do that's put on the internet, you are essentially standing there kind of naked, you know? And when you put yourself out there, you open yourself up to all types of emotions, love, hate, whatever it might be, for various different reasons. Now, if you are creating canon Star Wars, you got to be really careful with what you do, right? And you're playing with the most important part of it. You're using Yoda, you're using Darth Plagueis, which is a character that is so beloved, but no one's ever seen before, but everyone knows about.
That really grinded my gears, because he's like the ultimate evil, and you wasted this character on such a nothing burger of a show and a nothing burger of a scene, and you thought that would, appease any Star Wars fans, and you can just skate by on that. But people are calling you out on that, and they're not buying what you're selling, and now you're pretty much butthurt because you ain't getting a second season. No one wants another season of this crap unless they want to make fun of it and you. And it's funny for the best. It's definitely for the best to take this thing off the air. Matter of fact, it was so bad, I don't even think you can even see it on Disney Plus anymore. It was so garbage. You can't just like, you're building off of something that wasn't your IP, and you didn't respect it. And not even just with Star Wars, it's with any kind of IP. And you bringing in people trying to inject their own politics, inject their own little gender role philosophy, whatever activist BS or whatever like feminism BS, like just shove it into our media left and right. Very recently people have been trying to walk that back because there's no profit in it. And you're sabotaging your business in the process. It's terrible. You should focus on story and character development. Not saying that movies can't have themes. Like, you want to talk about an environmental theme in your movie or TV show, you can do that, but don't make that your frontal focus above anything else. That has to be secondary or thirdly. It's there, but it's not like that has to be the entire thing, and you leave little for the characters to build off an arc. And you completely forget about the whole hero's journey. Pretty much like crapping all over that.
Oh, you're creating Plagueis for people who are diehard fans, the nerds, and you're putting him on screen, and you know those guys are going to know who he is. And you do him like that? Some cave dweller that's like looking over these random, bullshit-ass characters that were half-assed. Fuck off! That is not Plagueis watching that shit. In a surprising remark, Hedlund said the reaction to the Acolyte taught her not that fan are toxic, but something else entirely. It made me start to think, rather than these fans are toxic or this thing is being mean to me, it made me think more that the content being made about Star Wars will ultimately be more culturally impactful than actual Star Wars. Bro, it's not that deep. Like, you created a story that didn't hit. Mandalorian hit with a lot of people. Is there any, where are all the ists and phobes there? I don't get it. The Kenobi show was dogged on, and you had Hayden and Ewan, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan, and it was absolutely ripped to shreds.
There's parts in the Kenobi series that I actually like, especially the ending with their dialogue exchange. That was very well acted. But they sold us on a show that was like a rematch of the century. Obi-Wan and Anakin Skywalker second round fight kind of thing. But what they do when it aired, throw it as like a Reva character that make no doggone sense. Throw in like a thing like little princess baby Leia, now coming to Disney Plus. So here's a preview of that. Let's be honest, it was like a backdoor pilot into like a potential. If the audience responded well to baby Leia, maybe they could try to get like a baby Leia TV show greenlit. And I was like, they try to be slick. It's the same way they try to utilize like, cutesy animals or whatever just sell toys. Like that alien monkey thing from Predator Badlands, or Olaf, or that horse from Tangled, or Stitch. It's just like it's like everywhere, and it's lazy, just trying to quickly win a particular audience instead of just kind of that's why I give Jon Favreau so much props, because he knew the whole Baby Yoda merch was coming out very soon, before season 1 of Mandalorian was about to air. He made sure that the people did not put those Baby Yoda stuff out until the first episode airs. And because he made that decision, that means that now those are going to be even more flying off the shelves. Rather than going the other way around, will look very inorganic and you feel like you're just treating us like walking wallets and just content consumers instead of people that is making you billionaires or millionaires. So you could have no respect for your viewers outside of the shills that kisses your ass and just do those fake ass reactions and tears and all this other stuff and over the top just reactions, just try to sell like, oh my god, he's really into it, let's bring him on to meet James Gunn so we can interview him.
Why? Because it was shit.
It's a representation of not only what I love, but the insane amount of work that the cast and crew put into this. I think you can see that on the screen or on your phone.
Sex. I said it. Now you're probably thinking about it. And that's how it starts. Your brain...
When the show was canceled just weeks after the finale aired, Leslie Headland says she was not surprised by it. I think I was surprised at the swiftness of it and the publicness of it. I was surprised by how it was handled. But once I was getting particular phone calls about the reaction and the criticism and the viewership, I felt like, okay, the writing's on the wall for sure. Yeah, the writing's on the wall because the writing of the show was non-existent. Headland stated that the understanding of the show's viewership was a little muddled for her. With Star Wars, you're not just measured within the marketplace that you happen to be in at the time. You're measured against every other Star Wars show. No, that's not true. You're measured against the level of confines that you have within the timeline that you are choosing to write about. Who are the characters? Where are we in this world that George Lucas has created? In this timeline, you were choosing to do something that was 200 years before the prequel trilogy, which still makes it very much prequels. Forget this High Republic bullshit, all right? That they're just trying to make a thing. This was 200 years before the prequels. It was still very much, you had Yoda, you put Ki-Adi-Mundi in there, you had Darth Plagueis. All of these things tie deep into episode 1, 2, and 3. And you messed it up completely. I mean, you weren't supposed to have Sith. You had a Sith that showed itself to Jedi, killing Jedi. You had a character that wasn't supposed to be born yet, thrown in there, who then was complicit in hiding this death of a Jedi from not just a random dude, which is already bad enough that a Jedi died, but from a Sith, from a dude with a red lightsaber, from a dark sider. He was complicit in hiding that information from Jedi Grandmaster Yoda, who he then sits next to in episode 1 when we see him open his mouth for the first time saying, the Sith have been extinct for over a millennium.
The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
See through you. We can.
Come on, Matt. You were trying to change stuff around. You didn't think deep enough about it. You might be a Star Wars fan at surface level or whatever you might think, but you didn't go deep enough. And that's why the show had its criticisms. That's why the show didn't do well. Not because of the 0.1% of random dumbasses out there that are just racists and sexist. Yeah, the show sucked because of this, because of that. Dude, no one's listening to them.
Such a lame ass.
Everybody who loves and hates the show looks at those people like they're retarded.
Hey.
Look, it's true. We can all agree that we look at those people like they're freaking aliens, like they don't belong here. All right? But just because they don't like the show, just because they happen to realize that it's shit, and we don't like the show because we happen to realize that it's shit and doesn't follow along George's path and the confines that he made, doesn't make everything we think the same. It's not that hard to figure out.
Absolutely.
Weird, man. Yeah, so let's get to the Plagueis thing. With Darth Plagueis making a cameo in the finale and May and Chimera teaming up, the Acolyte certainly left off a cliffhanger. Hedlund revealed that she had started to develop ideas for season 2 before the show was canceled. My showrunner and I had a lot of ideas going into season 1, so we definitely were thinking about that, specifically with Manny Jacinto's character. We always knew that Lee Jung-jae was going to be the emotional anchor of the first season, watching the deterioration of that father figure. So we had already thought ahead and thought about what type of relationship we wanted to look at in the second season. We had talked about all of that from a thematic and character standpoint, but in terms of actual narrative, there were only a couple signposts that we knew we wanted to hit. Ultimately, though, Hedlund said she has no regrets about the show. I'm absolutely obsessed with Star Wars. I still am, and I love my show, and I know that it was wonderful. Okay, listen, I've taken a lot of L's being on the internet. I've had some hot takes that I look back on and I'm like, yeah, I just think differently now. Or maybe I shouldn't have said that. Or what the hell was I thinking? Or no, I stand by that. And I think that that's really important in just your life and journey as a person in general. You know, forget all this internet crap and everything like that. Just as your own journey, I think it's really important to be introspective and kind of see yourself from a third person and be like, what kind of person am I? Leslie, the majority of people that didn't like this show didn't hate it because of the 0.1% of assheads that are racists and sexists. The majority of people didn't like this show, and I'm talking to you. I don't know if you're going to watch this. I don't know if your wife's going to watch this or someone you know is going to watch this, I'm sure.
I don't read anything. My wife just gives me the weather report.
But the reason we didn't like this show is because it was bad. And I've given my points as to why it was bad. So many people have given their points as to why it was bad. And one reason why I try to be so composed nowadays, now that I'm like entering my late 30s, is because I've noticed that it really detracts from your arguments when you are overly emotional or making jokes or things like that. If you are able to eloquently get across your point with facts and respect and being not monotone, but being extremely composed, which I feel like I'm doing a decent job of, it eliminates any sort of misunderstanding of this guy is over emotional or whatever else, or quirky, or just doing it for the bit. That's great. That's a great way to look at things. That's people's reaction. It's usually their reaction to their own reaction. That's really not a great way to look at it. And I think that my videos really get the point across as to factually why the writing in this show didn't land. So, you know, just if you can put aside your ego for 2 seconds, and I'm sure this to you was your baby, you loved it, you spent late nights writing it, you thought this was amazing, it got $250 million from a major studio, from the biggest studio, and you made a Star Wars show, and you were like, yeah, this is awesome, and you were excited about it, and I'm sorry the show didn't land for you, and I'm sorry the show didn't land for us and so many of us.
It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
If you go back on my channel, years and years and years, I have a video, I think it's from 2018 or 2019, talking about the Acolyte and being so excited. I remember the video. I don't even think I was wearing a hat. I remember being so excited about this show, talking about the Acolyte, simply because the premise was so interesting and so intriguing, and we were all really excited about it. Could this be about Darth Xana? Could it be about Palpatine or someone new? Whatever. A lot of us had really high hopes for this, and I definitely did. Well, really by the first episode, I was like, what the hell am I watching? You know, it was very clear that this was written by someone who, sure, you might think you're a Star Wars fan, but you didn't do your Star Wars research, your Star Wars homework, to be able to know that a lot of the things that you wrote in there, while they may be interesting for the studio to accept, won't land with the fans and won't make sense. You wanted to have a Sith, and you wanted to have this fight of the Jedi and the Sith, and it's a bit of a mystery. But you can't show a Sith to the Jedi. You can't. And if you do, no one can know about it. Like, he has to kill every single Jedi that he sees without anyone noticing. Right? It's like Red Dead Redemption. And I play that a lot, especially on my gaming channel. If you have witnesses...
I cannot wait for the sequel to Red Dead Redemption. That is going to take up so much people's time. And just like with like the Mummy 4, when that comes out, it's going to be like the opening day is going to be like Avengers Endgame level of crowds. The Mummy 4, I cannot wait for that.
That runoff. You can't have that, right? And this show had a shit ton of that. There were so many witnesses. You even brought one out who wasn't born. I'm trying to laugh with you, Leslie. I really am. But then the press tour and like...
I feel like Star Wars is very like patriarchal.
You get my point? This whole thing...
And that's another word I cannot stand. Patriarchal. Maybe the reason it's patriarchal because the guy who created it was a freaking man who understands about nuances and character development and the hero's journey that made his IP stood the test of time and is enjoyed by billions. And then here you come, you and Leslie decide like, yeah, this doesn't make me feel good, and it's kind of, I wanted the spotlight, so let me just muddy all that up to suit my needs. Because we're all Star Wars. I was like, stop. Just stop.
It could have been done so well than, having your lead actress make a diss track and then everyone who hates the show is alt-right. I'm just trying to watch Star Wars, bro. I'm not trying to... I don't got my voter's ballot here. I'm just trying to watch freaking Star Wars, okay? I'm just trying to see some lightsabers, not Sith ones. And that's it. There's just too much bullshit. There's too much left and right and politics and all of this thrown in there. I'm just trying to watch Star Wars, man. It's not that deep. You made a story that really didn't hit. It was bullshit. Leslie.
And that's the thing when people call it woke, because you're severing your personal grievances, your politics, all into a fantasy that doesn't need it. That's so you can tell a story with those themes to it. But that's all you got. Why else do you think it would have crapped the bed?
It was bad. It was bad. It didn't land. And that's why. Mando got 3 seasons because it landed. At least the first 2 did. Right? It's now getting a movie. Because Mando season 1 and 2 did so freaking well. I don't know what to say, man. Proof's in the pudding. If I had the power to cancel a $250 million... You think I have that kind of power, Leslie? I'm a freaking nerd who just makes Star Wars videos. Who apparently, maybe you were donating to on Patreon. Which I hope you'll like episode 2. And that's the thing. Art is meant to be critiqued. And listen, maybe, episode 2 will come out as a fan production and people will be like, this is absolute dog shit. Maybe. And that's okay. I don't think so. Because everything I did falls in line with what George created. That's how you have to go forwards looking and writing for Star Wars. What would George do? Would George have a Sith killing Jedi with witnesses? Would George have Ki-Adi-Mundi, who stood beside Master Yoda in the original episode 1, saying the Sith have been extinct for millennia, now hiding and collaborating with witnesses who have seen a Sith kill Jedi, keeping it from Master Yoda himself? Would George do that? Would George have bricks turning into flame? And no. Would George have a Jedi Master not use the Force to save 2 children from falling and just go out and save one with his physical hand? No. Would George...
They knew what they freaking was doing. Because half of that stuff seems so blatantly obvious that you have to purposely do that. It's like, oh, Ki-Adi-Mundi clearly shouldn't be alive at this time, but here he is. They really kind of uprooted the sequel trilogy, or prequel trilogy. And you're trying to, let's be honest, try to, really tear down like male characters that is like Anakin Skywalker is the chosen one. He is always meant to be the chosen one. He is birthed by the Force like immaculate conception kind of thing, because the dark side, Palpatine, was messing with via the Force and science, the dark side and science, to try to manipulate the Force in inorganic means, and the Force responded with Anakin as a counterbalance to that. But you was trying to introduce May and Osha, just like, oh, we got two black twin women that don't act like twins. They're the real chosen ones. So you're trying to crap all over Anakin Skywalker because you're trying to push this narrative that females, like the Force is female crap. And with the whole thing with Squid Game guy, Saul, I'm pretty sure that's what his character's name was. I don't even remember. It's like pretty much your little therapy session because you had some beef with your late father because, I don't know, you was raised in a Christian household and you didn't feel free to be yourself because now you can be a lesbian and everything like that. And it's like, oh my God, nobody cares. Leave that in your little therapy session with your therapist. We don't need to know or care about that. I'm sorry your father was a D-bag, but that's not our problem. You are... this is why gatekeeping... This is a good example of why gatekeeping was so important, or at least some level of gatekeeping was important, because us Star Wars fans was gracious enough to let other people who wasn't initially into this stuff, but as soon as, because it's popular now, you have theater kids coming in here, they're like, oh, this doesn't make me feel good, it makes me feel some type of way, oh, this is patriarchal, oh, this is there's not enough females in this, let's push this. It's like you muck with things that didn't need to be mucked with, and as soon as we interject or raise an objection, it's like, oh, you just hate women, so just so you can get your own way. No, we're calling you out on it. Okay, stop hiding behind ist or faux rhetoric. You know you made crap. You knew exactly what you were doing. You knew it. Okay? Stop lying. You are a liar. And you got little yes people around you trying to, and little shills trying to like boost your head up and stuff, thinking like, oh, it can't be me. No. Yes, sensible people, not all of them are racist. Vast majority of them are not. They are calling you out on your crap. And you have to own it. People will have a lot more respect for you if you just own your mistake. You made a crap project. It happens to the best of them. Every director, every showrunner have at one point or another made a crap project. It's not the end of the world. They acknowledge it and they come back later and do better and might end up hitting a home run. You don't hear M. Night Shyamalan pissing and moaning and calling them, oh, they're racist against Indians because they didn't like The Village. No, his comeback swinging with Split. Golly.
Have Darth Plagueis
You're not the only
peering
person
out of a
ever,
freaking
made a
cave
crap
like some
project. Just own
weirdo.
it.
No. Would George have witches talking about the Force as a thread? I don't think so. Would George have a original, someone to supersede Anakin's prophecy, 2 Force sensitives, not just one, 2. Buy one, get one free, 2 Force sensitives created from the Force itself. No, you wouldn't. There's so much more you can unpack. I mean, the visuals themselves really weren't good. It felt like a fan film. When you had Kelnaka standing in the, whatever that planet was, there was nothing in the, it just looked like a fan film, for God's sakes. And this may be hard for you to hear, Leslie, but man, it just wasn't good. Why'd you make it sexual? Like, why is she checking out his lightsaber, dude? When he's in the bath?
Yeah, that was weird.
There's just so many questionable scenes that I'm wondering, what was your thought process? And that's why, ultimately, the show failed. If it was really as good as you thought, I don't got power to shut a show down. Nobody does. If something is good, people are going to support the crap out of it, or at least there will be enough people to support the crap out of it for it to get greenlit. We know the Star Wars fandom is out there. They loved Mando. They loved a whole bunch of other little projects that were out there. Ahsoka Season 1. That got enough views and praise for an Ahsoka Season 2. Where are all the Istinphobes there? Why didn't the Star Wars YouTubers hate that? Mind you, some of it was pretty ass too, but nothing compared to the Acolyte. So I would really...
And that's a massive point. As I can at least have gotten through all the other Star Wars Disney projects, I managed to get through it all so I can give like an honest critique. There are parts of some of them I really like, and some of them I like as a whole, or some I just dislike altogether. But, you know, Acolyte is the latter. The only difference, because this is like the polar opposite of Andor. Now, full disclosure, in the first season of Andor, you know, halfway, the first half, I acknowledge the great writing, I acknowledge the cinematography, I acknowledge the great performances of the actors, but it took me a while before things kind of clicked, and when it did, I was on board. And mind you, the showrunner didn't really watch all that much Star Wars. However, he knew character development, he knew story structure, he knew great cinematography, he knew consistency. He didn't have rocks catching on fire randomly. Now, of course, the second season, there was a whole thing with, like, introducing graping kind of thing. That still was kind of odd. But that aside, there's the whole time skipping that's kind of wild and kind of leaves certain gaps on the floor. But beyond that, it was still a solid second season. Very solid, especially towards the latter half. Because the first 3 episodes was very slow. But still, stark contrast compared to something like Acolyte. As a matter of fact, I actually dug Skeleton Crew. But because it came not too long after Acolyte, it caught strays from the crap of the Acolyte, or the Crapolite, and it didn't deserve, like, you know, any kind of ridicule, because it was actually, some argue it was a solid stuff, because I think it was John Watts who was the showrunner, and he understood about, like, because, you know, studying from the feet of Steven Spielberg, knew how to make solid, you know, character arcs for children, and it was very interesting. It was fun. Jude Law was incredible. But if Acolyte was a year apart from it, I think Skeleton Crew would got a better praise. Matter of fact, probably should have pushed it further before it was released, so that way it didn't get the fallout, the negative fallout of Acolyte's situation. Very recently, Star Wars Visions Season 3 just came out. Now, most of Star Wars Visions was pretty solid because it's coming from Eastern studios and not Western studios. So you get these incredible, little short stories and great illustration. You got like Tales of the Jedi. Some of it was pretty good. Others was kind of crap. Kenobi series. Most of it is pretty. Half of it was good. The other half was crap. The other half being Baby Leia and Reva, who did not need to be here at all. It's a jumbled mixed bag. Oh, and then the whole Mandalorian thing. The first 2 seasons was very good, but that third one was like hot garbage. Still watchable by comparison to this, despite the Lizzo Jack Black of it all. But yeah, there is no consistency with any of this stuff. We should be getting Andor like level of quality, like back to back to back to back with all this stuff. But no, it's like they throwing darts at the wall and waiting to see what sticks. And then if anything falls, they just blame the bartender.
I'd love to get to a day where a lot of us can take accountability and be like, you know what, maybe the show just wasn't good. And instead of blaming, YouTubers or media or whatever it might be that you supposedly donated to, and if you donated to me on Patreon, thank you so much. That's very kind of you, and I hope that you do enjoy Vader Episode 2 one day, actually in a few months. But this sort of I'm not at fault sort of thing, when something bombed this bad, I think maybe just accept that maybe it just wasn't great. And you might have had the best of intentions, and I believe you did, because I don't think anyone wants to fail, especially on a grand scale like this. But I think that you missed the mark on this one. You did. And that's
All right, I'm going to end it right there. Because already coming up with like 2 hours. But there was a lot that I wanted to talk about and give my 2 cents on. Because it was a lot this week. And I couldn't just fit it in a TikTok video, clearly. But man, I'm curious to know what you guys think with the whole Archives thing, the Acolyte thing, the Willow Smith stuff. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on the matter. I will see you guys tomorrow, where I'm gonna be doing like a 12-hour stream. Trying to get some good foot traffic coming in. Probably won't be streaming on Thanksgiving. Well, I'll probably still do my movie reviews, because I'll just let you know what I'm going to be doing right now. I'll be doing the Godfather trilogy. I'll be reviewing the Godfather trilogy. I haven't seen it in such a long time, and it's a great trilogy. Well, the first 2 movies are great. The third one's okay. But anyway, look forward to that. I will see you all soon. Have a great evening. Peace.